Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. It's feeling a little spring-like, even though it's been quite cold. There feels like there's a little bit of a shift happening already. The birds every morning are singing so loudly, especially the magpies, and we've got this magpie lark that is enamored with itself in all of the glass in the house. And I only recently properly cleaned the outside of my windows, and already they are so dirty with this bird flapping against the glass every morning. We've also had an invasion of ibis, or bin chickens, as we like to call them here in Australia. They make the worst noise. So we've got all these other beautiful birds chirping and singing and making all these really lovely morning noises that to wake up to, and then you've got this squawking horrible noise of these ibis, and they've been sitting in our big pine trees right at the top, flapping and carrying on and fighting with each other. Then they'll swoop down, a whole lot of them, down into the dam, and then they'll get up into another tree again. And I've never seen that many here before. There's always a lot like at the park in Hillsville and over at the sanctuary, Hillsville Sanctuary, but never here before. So they have decided that this is a good place to be. I took a shorter work week this week. It's been super busy and I have worked some additional hours. So I took a couple of days, which was nice. One of those days, I literally sat and did nothing. I sat over here in the shed, I had the fire going, and I did a little bit of work on my website, and I knit for a while and just really enjoyed absolute peace and quiet. Today, however, I have been reasonably busy this morning. I've done some dyeing, which I'll share with you next week because it's still in the pots and most of it is quite experimental, so I'm not sure how it's going to turn out yet. And I have been down by the big dam, which is now completely full, which is really exciting. We're going to get a whole stack more rain in the next few days. So I think it's going to end up overflowing. But I took quite a lot of the tree guards off the plants that have been planted down there 2 years ago now. Uh, all of the grasses are quite well established, so I made sure to get all of those off, and then I checked quite a few of the trees, left the guards on some of the smaller trees that are still a little bit scraggly, but did take it off to some of the larger ones. So I think with this next lot of weather, the rain and everything, that those grasses will expand out and take up a lot of the space, and it will start to look really nice and full. So I realize that we're now about a month away from my next market, which will be in Romsey. I'll put the details up on the screen. And then it's another month after that until She's Crafty at Castlemaine on the 24th of October. And then the Birregurra, all about fibre and yarn, on the 25th of October. So I'm looking forward to that because I know I'm going to sort of get away for the weekend and spend a couple of days traveling around to do those markets. So I have taken quite a bit of a break from some serious yarn dyeing and market preparation, but now I need to get back into gear and get myself ready and have a really clear idea of what I want to take to Romsey and then what I want to take the following month as well. So I've made a list of some springtime colorways that I want to create and some that I want to redo from previous recipes that I have, and work on a color series that's really inspired by spring. As I said, it kind of is starting to feel a little bit springy here, and it has inspired me to start thinking in that direction. I did do a little bit of dyeing last week, and I have a little bit I can show you. I have some Aura, my 8-ply brushed merino in the grape colorway. So that one is now dry and I need to reskein and add it to the shop as well. I then did my Christmas colorway. I experimented with it quite a while ago and I left it sit for a bit and that now I've come back to it because I had decided how I was going to do what I wanted to do. Should I show you? Yeah, I think I should. I'm really happy with it. It is going to end up making little micro stripes, and it is red and green sections on my sparkle base, the dewdrop sock, which is a merino, alpaca, nylon, and sparkle. So yeah, sections of green, and then sections of red, and then sections of green, and then sections of red. So I'm not going to have this for sale just yet, but I will soon, and it will be a pre-order, and then I will be shipping it out in November. So that is something to look forward to. But I do want to re-knit something with this just to make sure that it has come out how I think that it will. And then following on from that, because of the way that I've dyed that, there is still dye left in the pots when I finish, and I don't like to waste it. So I've just been playing around with some different techniques with what's left in the pot. So I put 4 skeins into the green pot when it was almost exhausted, and then I got my little empty dye containers and just kind of shook them out over the top, and little bits of dye powder sprinkled on. So I've got 4 of these one of a kinds, which I will be listing soon. And I have 2 of these one of a kinds that I'll also be listing soon, which have little bright speckled colors throughout. So I think these will be August 1 and August number 2 of my special batches. And I should have them up on the website by the time this video goes live. As I said, I'm now working on some other springtime colorways, and I should be able to share those with you next week. First of what I'm wearing this week, this is the Flax by Tin Can Knits, the worsted weight edition. I really love the Tin Can Knits patterns. They're really easy to follow. And if you use their app, you can just choose your size, and then it just gives you those numbers, and you don't have to like circle and figure out which one is for you. You just follow along based on having filtered out everything else. I did this is Mill Post in, I think it's called Teal, and it feels very much the same as Mill Post, but something that I got from Bendigo years and years ago. Bendigo Wool Show, not from Bendigo Mills, in a light blue. And I did the garter on the sleeves, and I made it all stripes. It does need quite a lot of depilling. You can see, especially under the arms here, this is all non-superwash. I think at the end of winter, I'm going to get out all of my jumpers and give them all a shave and a wash, and then put them away. So I might go through with you how I do all of that and how I take care of my hand knits. So I've continued on with the blanket that I showed you last week. It's not a blanket, it's a shawl, but I'm going to probably use it as a blanket. It is the Honeycombs shawl by Stephen West. And I didn't do a lot since last week. I moved my marker and I only did one more lot of the honeycomb. But I'm really enjoying the color transition. The main color is Queensland Collection Drover in it's merino silk tweed in color Tumbleweed. It's got little flecks of color in it. And I'm using some hand spun of mine to make the gradient color as the pop. So still really enjoying this, but I did get distracted on another sort of basic project that I will show you in a minute. So the project that distracted me was some baby knits. My cousin and his wife are expecting their first baby in October, and they know it's going to be a girl. So I am knitting a few things for them. I've done some booties. These are cute little ones. They sort of look like Ugg boots. They're so cute. I haven't sewn this one up yet, but they are super quick to make. And depending on how much yarn I've got left after I've done the other thing that I'm knitting on right now, I may do another pair of these. And now I'm doing a little like tunic dress. So I'm carrying those two purples through, as well as adding in a green. I need to knit up to about, I think about 7 inches. So I've got a little ways to go, and then it'll sort of have a front and a back with like little loops over the shoulders and cute little buttons on the front, and then it can go sort of like a little pinafore tunic kind of outfit. So this is all Four Seasons Pure Merino 8 ply, which is a super wash from Spotlight. And I'm using colors. What colors is this? I think it's like pomegranate, hydrangea, and bottle melange. So that's been my kind of mindless knit in circles, not really have to think too much project in the evening. And so I've not been knitting on that shawl. Instead, I've been knitting on this. And this should be done pretty quickly now. And I've made quite a lot of progress on my Galan jumper by Marie Amelie Designs. I only have this much left of my first ball of the grey. I still have plenty of the silver left, and I'm using my little spinny thing to pull that off. It makes it nice and easy for that one. And I have those available at markets. And here is where I'm up to. So I am well past the arm split now. I think I was only just past the arm split last week. I have done the first series of increases and decreases to make those rays start to get wider on the front. They stay the same on the back at the yoke split point, but on the front they get wider. And now I'm up to the second section where the instructions change slightly, and I think that they don't get as wide as quickly for the bottom half of the jumper. But I don't really read ahead that much, so I've kind of half read it, but not really. Oh, it's starting to get warm in here. Can you see my face getting red? The sun's just started to come through the window. Whew, I'm going to have to take this off as soon as I'm done. So I'm really enjoying this knit. It's coming up looking really pretty. It is the knit that I've been doing over here in the shed during the day, away from the cats, so that I can concentrate on it a little bit, and so that they don't sit all over me while I'm doing it, because it is quite fine. And if I catch some of that yarn, it's going to end up wrecking the stitches. I'll definitely need to break into the second ball of this, especially for the sleeves. So I'm going to work down and see how far I get with this ball for the body. Obviously, that's a long way from being long enough for a jumper. If I do finish this before I get to the bottom that I want to do, I will put the bottom on hold and then do the sleeves first, probably split the second ball in half, and then go back and finish the body. And even so, I might put the body on hold, even if I think it's long enough, and finish the sleeves first and then go back, just to make sure that once I've put the arms on, it doesn't pull up too much and change the level of the body too much. So I don't want it cropped, but I also don't want it to be too long. So it's finding that right balance. And last week I talked about finding the right yoke depth and how I do that. And I thank you for the comments about finding it helpful. I'm glad that you did. I thought for a while there I might have been completely prattling on about nothing, but I think I got there in the end. So of course, I'm already thinking about the next project, and I think I do want to do something that is intarsia, because I've got some hand spun and some other non-superwash 8-ply wool that's spun similarly to my hand spun that I would like to use together. And I think I have found a pattern. It's from the 52 Weeks of Easy Knits book. I think it's called City. It's Cite with an accent on top of the E. And it is 3 colors. And I think I could potentially even make it more colors by doing the back and the front in different yarns if I needed to, or by maybe even splitting the front and back into 2 different halves as well to make it a little more complicated in terms of the intarsia. But I'm just thinking about what I have in my stash and how I would potentially be able to use it. So I think I'm going to make that next. I will need to gauge swatch with, I'll just choose one of the yarns to gauge swatch with, and I should be able to then kind of figure it out. But I was just thinking, I've made quite a few patterns out of that book already. I've made a hat. I have made 2 versions of the True Stripes jumper. I've made ankle. And was there something else? There might have been another one. So I've already made quite a few out of that book. So I've actually feel like I've gotten my value for money out of it. And now it's in my head that when I'm looking for patterns, I should be going back and actually looking through the magazines and the bought patterns and the books that I already have before I try and find something elsewhere. And this book has been so good in terms of the amount of patterns that I've looked at and wanted to knit from it. And now I am thinking about making this Sita jumper as well. And there's quite a few other things in there that I would definitely still have on my list of things that I would like to make. I think that's a test of a good knitting book, that you're able to keep going back to it and find things in it that you are actually really interested in making, and that are patterns that are easy enough to follow, rather than buying a big book like that just because it's beautiful and having it sit there and end up not making anything out of it at all. So I'm very happy with that book. I really recommend it if you're looking for like any of those 52 books. Obviously, I bought it because there were a few things that really caught my eye to begin with. But now I keep going back to it again and again and studying more of the designs and the patterns in there, and I am continuing to find things that I would like to knit, and I feel that that's a really good value for money book. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.